Thank you so much for joining us on the program. This is Aviation This Week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. Sustaining Nigeria's records as one of the nations in Africa that has maintained high standards of safety in air transport requires concerted efforts from regulatory oversight, airline self-monitoring, and provision of infrastructure at airports. Everyone in the safety chain is important. With airlines battling numerous challenges, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority says it's no longer just concerned about safe operations, but also with financial health. The safety of the industry is our focus. Our background report is next. Aviation is the safest form of long-distance transport. In 2018, the all-accident rate measured in accidents per 1 million flights was 1.35, which was the equivalent of one accident for every 740,000 flights. This was an improvement over the overall accident rate of 1.79 for the previous 5-year period between 2013 and 2017. The 2018 fatality risk of 0.17 means that on average, a person would have to travel by air every day for over 16,500 years to experience a 100% fatal accident. Safety remains the highest priority of all involved in aviation. The shared goal is for every flight to take off and land safely. Nigeria's major air crash occurred in June 2012. In the last 6 years, Nigeria has not recorded any major accident except that of August 2020, which recorded 3 fatalities.
Aviation, you can't do without aviation. Anywhere in the world, I haven't seen one person that will say, I'd rather go by boat from London to New York than to fly. Everybody wants to fly. It's a fact. In the last 6 years, only 3 souls have died from air transportation. 3 in the last 6 years. We connect cities, we connect people, we make things happen.
The crash of the Naira and the hike in the cost of aviation fuel is worsening the battle for survival by domestic airlines and is raising aviation safety concerns. But some passengers here say they are confident of the nation's air safety.
Aircraft maintenance, I think most of the time, is in dollars. So, which is not available. So, I hope they will not compromise. But what I discovered is that maybe the majority of them that has maybe 3 planes, 4 planes before, they decide maybe they drop to maybe started using 1 or 2, so that those are the ones they can maintain. That is why you discover that sometimes you started having flight delay. Maybe before they have 2 planes, maybe 1 going to Abuja, but now the same plane will move from Lagos to Port Harcourt, Port Harcourt to Abuja, Abuja back to Port Harcourt, Port Harcourt to Lagos. So, aviation industry, when it comes to standard, they are very strict. So they don't joke with standards. And even aircraft maintenance, you have procedures which they have to follow step by step. Some 100 procedures, 100 steps, 100 steps, which they have to follow. So if all those things, so they have to look, so it's not, so I have no fear, because I believe that there are standards which there are people there that ensures that those standards are followed.
If you come to situation of safety, to that regard, we can say they are improving. They are coming off now. But in some other services, these customer relations and what have you, there is a lot about things to do, and they have to check about that. You can book a flight in a particular time. You have already scheduled for your traveling and what have you. But unfortunately, it will be rescheduled again. So apart from that, there is a lot of issues pertaining where to go, there is no even direction of showing how to do this, how to do that. It's very unfortunate.
One key area that lends to aviation safety is the implementation of civil aviation regulations, and perhaps this is what led to 2 airlines temporarily shutting operations.
Economically, is wider. It's looking at the financial health of the airlines, and in doing that, you look at not just the pay slip, whether they are paid salary or not, but the moment an airline begin to own cannot pick bills, there is a signal to unhealthy financial situation, and we will carry out the economic audit. Then, of course, other things where you cannot even repair your vehicles, When you cannot pay stars at when due, it's a signal. Then of course that will lead to carry out a safety audit. Then of course safety audit was actually carried out. That is now looking to the machines, looking to the personnel, whether they are trained as at when due, they get the necessary training, validation, stimulations, and every other thing. Then of course you come to a conclusion, which is based on facts. It's the outcome of those investigations. Then of course the decision is, even before it is communicated officially, it's also known to the airline what is going to come from fact, because you can't contest facts.
For an analyst, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has to be on top of its game this time more than ever.
Once there is suspicion that people might cut corners because of the cost of fuel, I know NCA is going to step up their oversight, and if they do that, there will still be air safety in place. Otherwise, if there is no oversight, proper oversight of the industry, everybody will want to cut corners to save money and at least declare dividends to their investors. But the industry is not like a rail line or motor vehicle. So there will be stress again on NCA too, to make sure that their eyes are wide open to the activities of airlines.
Safety recommendations derived from investigations are issued by accident investigation authorities with the intention of preventing accidents and incidents. Annex 13 requires that states shall address, when appropriate, any safety recommendations arising out of its investigations to the accident investigation authorities or other state concerned. Just recently, Cameroon Air Investigation Authorities visited Nigeria seeking for help from the AIB Nigeria over the unfortunate Caverton crash of May 2022, which occurred in that country, all in a bid to unravel the cause and, by extension, up safety on the continent. On our interview segment, the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, speaks on how the regulator is conducting its oversight despite the hard times for airlines and the industry.
And what we are facing now is a financial and economic crisis in the aviation industry. And we are intervening to ensure that it remains economic and financial crisis while the relevant bodies, relevant organization, the Ministry of Aviation headed by the Honorable Minister of Aviation, and the members aviation committee not treat aviation in absolute isolation of the economic environment it operates. What is happening to aviation is happening to all sectors. But I understand air transport has become very critical for Nigerians now because it's becoming the favorite means of transportation due to other challenges, traveling by roads, and also air transportation, God forbid, deals with the lives of human beings. You don't lose money, you don't lose property, it's the lives of human beings. And we cannot quantify the life of a single human being. So we do all our best to ensure that despite these challenging difficulties, we ensure safety is priority. Safety supersedes. At this point in time, safety supersedes any other consideration and flight operations in this country. Aero came out, the manager of Aero came, they sat down with us, they did a presentation on how they're trying to restructure and reposition their company for more effective provision of services. And they told us of their plan to suspend their own operations voluntarily. And to me, that was okay. We're not here to kill any organizations. We're here to work with them. They presented a very good plan. And when they are done, they'll come back to us. We'll sit down and we'll work with them. And any kind of assistance they need, we give them. So Aero voluntarily suspended their own operations based on their situation and their plan to restructure and reposition their airline. And I must commend the management of Aero for taking that decision on their own. We did technical audit with Aero, very little or no findings. ensures that they operate safely in compliance with all our regulations. And it's just that, unfortunately, they got into this financial problems that has been brewing for a period of time. So it's the same financial and economic health audit wasn't so good in a bad state. That can be fixed, but during the investigations, we came across a series of violations that were of grave concern to us. And for the interest of safety of the public, we decided to stop the operations until these matters are resolved. Initial reports I get, Jet A1 is more available in Lagos and Abuja. Other stations have difficulties, but we are investigating. We have a team that has gone investigating this cause of this delay. But generally, a lot of them complain the availability of fuel, and sometimes, well, it's a claim that some fuel suppliers demand them to pay in cash because they have outstanding debt. Some of the airlines have outstanding debt, so the fuel suppliers don't want to add to that outstanding debt. So if an airline is operating, depending on where they have to pay cash for Jet A1, and sometimes to raise that cash, they have to go and congregate all the ticket sales they have done and raise funds to pay for this.
It's been 9 long years since she waited for a chance to go into space, and now Nico Apunaman is set. And if all goes according to plan, that wait will end on October the 3rd, when the Native American astronaut will lead NASA's Crew 5 mission to the International Space Station. While John Harrington was the first Native American astronaut to make it to the space in 2002, Man will be the first woman to break that barrier.
To be honest, I think I feel very proud. It's important that we celebrate our diversity and really communicate that specifically to the younger generation. Because I know there's kids out there that live, perhaps in a community where there are barriers. And I want them to know that these barriers are being broken down or can be broken down. And so hopefully they feel inspired or empowered to pursue their dreams.
Man is a member of the Wilaki of the Round Valley Indian tribes in Northern California, says that our upcoming mission has sparked excitement in our community.
0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Spot and Doug.
I still live in Northern California area where the Round Valley tribes are located. And there's been, what's really neat is a lot of interest from these news outlets and from these sources from the Native American outlets. And that's really, I think, an audience that we don't get an opportunity to reach out to very often. And so I think this is just a good opportunity to highlight everything that we're doing in space and maybe, spread that word to a community that normally wouldn't be in the forefront of their minds.
With a journey into space just weeks away, Man, a Marine colonel with a master's in mechanical engineering, was recruited into NASA in 2013 and finished candidate training 2 years later. As a former fighter pilot who flew combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, she seems well suited to the stress and unpredictability of a manned space mission. Man, NASA astronaut Josh Casada, Japan's Koichi Wakata, and Russian cosmonaut Anna Kikina are set to launch from Florida's Kennedy Space Center aboard the Dragon spacecraft and swap out Crew 4 from ISS. NASA's gigantic space launch system, atop which will be for now a manned Orion Crew capsule, is poised to take a key step toward returning humans to the moon after a half-century hiatus.
Just make sure that you keep the track on your left side down. All right.
Our feature for the week is next after the break. Do join us again.
Qantas Airways Limited has said it would buy back up to $276 million of shares after the lifting of COVID curbs spurred a strong rebound in travel demand boosting its second half performance and lowering debt levels.
Our debt is now below our target range. It's the best it's been for 10 years. So in addition to the investments we're making in customers and our people, we're now in a position to start repaying our shareholders. And I'm pleased to say that the board, in line with our financial framework, has approved a shareholder return of up to $400 million in the form of a non-market share buyback.
The airline also recorded losses. The bulk of the losses were reported in the first half when domestic and international borders were closed under strict measures to contain the COVID-19 pandemic.
The group had an underlying loss before tax of almost $1.9 billion and a statutory loss before tax of just under $1.2 billion. That brings the total losses since the start of the pandemic to more than $7 billion and takes lost revenue to more than $25 billion. To put that in perspective, on a statutory basis, Qantas has seen COVID cost us more money in the past 3 years than we made in the 5 years before that, including some record years of profitability.
While demand has improved, Qantas in recent months has been trimming its domestic capacity from earlier forecasts due to widespread staff shortages at airports, high rates of crew illness in winter, and elevated fuel prices.
And we're also having to recruit because of high attrition. So people, when we called people back that we didn't make redundant, what we found is a large people had gone on and found other jobs. That's fair, because people weren't going to sit around and just wait for the aviation industry to come back. So we had to recruit for those people that had made other decisions. And what we're seeing now in the very hot labour market, in certain areas, this high level of attrition. Like cabin crew that we have in Western Australia, in network aviation, there's 25% attrition at the moment because they are leaving to other higher paid jobs in Western Australia, and we're having to recruit to place them.
Qantas also plans to run a competition between aircraft manufacturers to replace its aging fleet of 28 Airbus A330 planes in the next 12 to 18 months.
Cabin crew working for IAG's low-cost airline Iberia Express have gone on strike from August the 28th, the first of a 10-day strike calling for better working conditions. Spanish Union USO said at Madrid's airport that the crew members' wages have been frozen since 2015.
We expect sitting with us to negotiate and to hear us the update of the salaries, and with this start a new negotiation with the salaries of today.
The company said it cancelled 8 flights not protected by the minimum service regulations and offered alternatives in advance to the more of 1,000 affected passengers. The affected flights were 4 return flights from Madrid to Gran Canaria, Palma de Mallorca, Santiago de Compostela, and Sevilla.
It's the moment. We have been 8 months trying to negotiate with them, and it's the moment. Yes, it's the moment. We think it's true. It's a really big part for the customers. It's a really impact, but we think it's the moment to the company here to us.
Unions said they have been negotiating for 8 months and workers will go on strike until September the 6th in yet another labor dispute arising from the industry's turbulent post-COVID-19 recovery with a higher cost of living, in turn prompting trade unions to demand higher wages, often backed by strike calls.
Air transportation is a catalyst to economic development for any nation. It is also the preferred means of transport for top government officials, entrepreneurs, and movers and shakers of the global economy. So, every country is negatively affected when scheduled flight operations are impaired. And that appears to be the likely situation in Nigeria if the country cannot allow foreign carriers repatriate their ticket funds. In April this year, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, recently at its AGM in Doha, Qatar, disclosed that airlines' unremitted revenues from Nigeria, known as blocked funds, has risen to $450 million, but now it's $14 million more.
In 2016, 2017, we had something similar to this. And the reason then was the fact that we were getting less from crude oil, which is our main source of foreign exchange, because the price of crude oil went down significantly then. But how do you explain this when the price of crude oil is good and we still cannot fulfill our obligations? It means that somebody somewhere just didn't see the need to fulfill that obligation or take it seriously. And I think CBN needs to look into how things like this is being handled.
The International Air Transport Association, IATA, has criticized Nigeria's failure to allow international airlines repatriate their profits, warning it may cause the country more damage. In a statement on its official Twitter handle, IATA said it was disappointed that the Nigerian government did not heed its warnings to allow timely repatriation of the funds. Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa and also a major oil producer. The scarcity of foreign exchange and a depreciating currency is impacting negatively, with foreign ticket fares hitting the roof.
Now you cannot buy any of the inbound tickets for buy in Naira. You cannot pay for it at the Naira now. You have to pay in the foreign currency. But tickets that are outbound, that means flight departing from Nigeria, it is originates from Nigeria, then you can pay in Naira. And so what this means that for those who have kids who have dependents outside the country, if you have to buy a ticket for them to come home, you would have to pay in foreign currency. And for those of us here, what the airlines have done now, they have removed the lower tariff fares and left the expensive one. And that's why as of today, the most expensive route on the west coast to Europe is the Nigerian route.
While the National Association of Nigeria Travel Agencies had earlier sent an appeal to the federal government to give access to foreign carriers to repatriate some of their funds, its prediction of airline withdrawal of services is already coming to pass, as Emirates plans to suspend operations come September the 1st. Some passengers talk about the cost of airfares.
I can say it's too much because people are complaining, not only me, you understand. Although some people can be able to afford it, while some cannot be able to afford it.
We cannot say that the aviation flight ticket amount is good for now, because the thing has just skyrocketed. So most people flying now, rather than flying maybe business class, or as the case may be before. But now, for now, nobody dares to talk about flying business class.
As it stands, 12 African countries have collectively blocked airlines from repatriating $1 billion to their home countries, and Africa is responsible for 67% of airlines' blocked funds globally. Qatar Airways, Delta Airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, Emirates, Lufthansa, British Airways and Turkish Airlines number among the foreign airlines flying into Nigeria and already affected by the blocked funds.
This is where we call it a day on the program. See you next time. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.